Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I would like to welcome you to our podcast today. Now, if you are a frequent listener to our show, what you'll realize is what we do is we take an individual film, and me and a special guest will kind of talk and have a good conversation about this film, maybe even critique it a little bit or a lot, depending on the type of movie it is. But we generally like to have a really good, fun, and entertaining time discussing this film for you who may or may not have seen the film, or if you have seen the film, we hope that you will learn to have a greater appreciation for that film. This being said, we are doing a lot of great films in this new year, and I am so happy to be doing and touching upon yet another anthology film, because we only did a few of them last year, and I would like to get this year started off much better by doing more anthology films. And that anthology film that we will be discussing today is Trilogy of Terror from 1975. And to talk about this film with me, I have one of my special guests on the show or program, which is Mr. Thomas Tillarella. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Kevin, and talking about this classic anthology.
It is a classic anthology film, and it's one of the few that actually are really popular, despite originally originating on the TV format. There's only a few that are really fondly remembered that are from the TV format, and this is by far probably one of the most popular, if not most popular one. I mean, even today, it's still renowned for at least the Zuni doll sequence in the film, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think that is pretty much entirely the reason why anybody remembers this at all. Some people, I think, will probably just see this movie as not really a movie. It's just a really awesome short film with a couple of filler before it, which is fine. We're all leading busy lives these days. We won't spite you if you just fast forward through the first two segments and just watch the Zuni doll sequence. That's fine. We're not going to do that, though, because we're going to go through each story step by step in order.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about them, because that's what we do on all the anthologies. Although we may come into a bit of a problem, though, if we ever do a Christmas Horror Story, the one with William Shatner, because that's the only anthology I know of where they like intercut the stories, whatever the word is for that, Pulp Fiction style. Yeah.
Well, we did an episode on Trick or Treat where they did that as well, and that was.
Oh, they did? Oh, darn.
So, and then even when we discussed, I think it was the original Zombie Diaries, the way that is done is like an anthology film as well. It is hard, but it's much easier for these traditional anthology films to go through each one of the segments one by one and kind of tell everybody what we thought about each one of them as we do. We had a lot of fun last year doing this when we had the anthology month, and we did this for all the movies there. It was so much fun doing that, and I just want to get back to that to kind of highlight some of these great anthology films that are out there that sometimes people forget exist because they're not talked about enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, but this one, I think, for no other reason, is worth seeing because it is the origin for a lot of very specific kinds of horror that came later. Especially if maybe we get a little ahead of ourselves here. But if you're really into say the Child's Play movies and the Puppet Master movies and pretty much anything like that has anything to do with little creatures attacking people. Pretty much this is where that pretty much begins. And even if it doesn't begin, any of those people who made those movies I mentioned will say, oh, yeah, I guess because I saw the Zuni doll sequence in Trilogy of Terror. Heck, there's even some voodoo in this, too, in the second sequence. So you can totally see how how Tom Holland must have seen Trilogy of Terror when he was directing Child's Play.
Don Mancini, who wrote it, though.
Oh, sorry, Don Mancini, the writer. Credit where credit is due.
Yeah, well, we all know there was some stuff that was changed when Tom Holland came on, so it's okay to mention that. But yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like we should make a distinction though between the cursed doll genre and the killer doll genre because this is very different. The cursed doll genre would be something like Annabelle
yeah.
or freaking trying to remember anything other than Annabelle that would fit into that category. Basically,
There's several
what?
Full Moon Entertainment World. So
Yeah. Or no. Like I think Devil Doll, the original like ventriloquist Devil Doll movie, where the doll itself is kind of the center of the paranormal happenings that are going on,
Mhm.
but the doll itself does not necessarily come to life and try to kill people. That's the cursed doll genre. And that's been going on forever. Where in fact you could probably make the argument that The Exorcist is a cursed doll thing because of the Pazuzu idol at the beginning of the movie. But that's debatable. But this thing, I think, pretty much makes the 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 idea of a doll, of an ancient doll, in this case a Zuni fetish doll, coming to life and trying to kill somebody 3 times its height, and holding its own, oddly. I know some people find that idea completely ludicrous. I know there's one guy I saw an interview with some comedian, I think, he said like he never thought Chucky was scary because he's just a freaking doll who's like 3 feet tall, not even. Like, come on, just kick it. Just kick Chucky. What's he gonna do? Just kick him. Boom, he's done. He's gone.
he gets kicked a lot in the movies, and then he just gets right back up and still comes after you with a large knife or something else in the later movies. But in the first couple, it's really his large ass knife that he comes after you with. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, this is really kind of where the killer doll I enters the zeitgeist when this movie debuted on ABC as a movie of the week, March 4th, 1975, and it was a Tuesday night, if you want to know.
Okay, you actually did all the research on this. That's great.
That's right, Kevin.
All right. So, getting started with this, we might as well start with the very first segment of this film, which is Julia.
Well, I also might want to tell people, and you might want to do so too, Kevin. Tell
Oh,
our viewers where we found this movie, because I don't know about you, I was not alive in '75. I think you might have been.
no, I was a year
You were
late,
not.
6.
I you 76.
I
You
was
just missed
76.
it.
I know.
You
I honestly do not know how or when I saw this for the first time. I honestly don't. This was not a film that I became aware of during my college years. I came aware of this movie before that.
Hmm.
I may have caught it on a rerun or something. I don't remember. But as a kid, I do remember the Zuni doll segment being the one I remember the most fond. And I never really studied Dan Curtis's movies, to be honest with you. I didn't even see the Dark Shadow movies that he produced until like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I'd seen the show but I was never a religious watcher of the show. I was aware of the show, but Dan Curtis, it was someone I always knew of, but I would never went out of my way to find his movies until I got much older. I just happened to see him when I saw him.
Oh yeah, this is the first time I think we are going to be mentioning Mr. Dan Curtis, but
Mm-hmm.
it will not be the last time because his fingerprint is very large in horror content. I don't want to say content, horror TV and movies and TV movies
Mm-hmm.
in the '70s, '80s, and well into the '90s. He left a very large legacy
Yes.
that is mostly filled up by the show Dark Shadows, the very first horror daytime soap opera. Um, as a matter of fact, I think it's still probably there's really not that many other daytime horror soap operas now that I think about it. I think it's pretty much just Dark Shadows. Which, by the way, I looked it up on IMDb. Dark Shadows has 1,264 episodes.
Yeah, which is not that much, to be honest with you.
That's insane though compared to other shows.
I know, but you gotta keep in mind the soap operas put out an episode every day without doing ever doing reruns. So that's 5 times 52 a year. Whatever that number is, and then multiply something like what do you call it? Days of Our Lives, the rest of them out there. It's a fat, but you know what? The difference between Dark Shadows and although we got off on a tangent, everyone, it's okay because we're staying with Dan Curtis here. The thing about Dark Shadows is the only soap opera that's been off the air for so long, yet people still collect these episodes and rewatch these episodes over and over and over again, gaining new audiences with each new generation. No other soap opera has ever done that.
Yeah,
Ever.
nobody's collecting Days of Our Lives on
No
DVD.
one.
Come on.
No one is. There is no huge market for checking out the earliest episodes of Days of Our Lives, which is, it's unfortunate, but that's just the nature of that industry. And that,
Although I think some people might be collecting Passions. That's the one with the robot, the robot kid.
yeah, that's the other genre, the soap opera. That was the only other one I was going to mention. That's not a normal soap opera. Was Passion. I know that one from its stories. I have never actually watched that one.
Me neither.
But
But I first watched this movie
yes,
as in conjunction with Trilogy of Terror 2,
okay.
because the sequel to this thing, which, by the way, isn't it a tragedy, ladies and gentlemen, that we live in a timeline in which Dan Curtis passed away, unfortunately, in 2006, the ripe old age of 78 or 72. So this is probably not ever going to happen. But isn't it sad that we live in a timeline where there are only two trilogies of terror? Yeah. That there's not a trilogy of trilogies of terror, that they haven't made a third one yet. But anyway, so they made a second one, Trilogy of Terror 2, for the Sci-Fi Channel, back when it was the Sci-Fi Channel, and it was good. Back in 1996, when I was a freshman in high school. So, of course, they showed clips from the OG. And that's what made me think, oh, I'm going to see that. But this was before YouTube, and the OG was kind of hard to find at the time. So, and then in fact, a lot of these terrifying TV movies in the heyday of the movie of the week in the 70s and 80s are kind of hard to find unless you're looking for them on YouTube. So that's kind of where I was able to find Trilogy of Terror, the original. But then I realized, wait a minute, I could be watching a better quality of this on Tubi. So once again, this is not meant to be a commercial for Tubi, but God bless Tubi. By the way, they're doing the Lord's work out there. So I was able to find a good quality scan of Trilogy of Terror, the OG, on Tubi, and 2 weeks ago. So really, technically speaking, I haven't actually seen all of this, all three stories, until like last week.
Oh Jesus. I think you're correct. Trilogy of Terror the original has been giving a really good release out there, even though it's a good release based on the movie that was shot for television. Trilogy of Terror 2 has not been given a good release, and I think.
Oh yeah, is it even on DVD?
I don't think the second one is. I have a bootleg, and don't get me wrong when I say this. I have a bootleg copy of Trilogy of Terror 2 because I wanted to see it again. I'd seen it once, but I had never seen it since I saw it on Sci-Fi Channel in '96, and so I was desperate to see it again. And it wasn't available anywhere, so I have a bootleg that I found in like a horror convention. Go to the horror conventions, you can find all this shit. Now a lot of this stuff is on YouTube. Don't get me wrong, and then, like you said, now a lot of it's actually on Tubi too. A lot of stuff that you couldn't find. So I was happy to find Trilogy of Terror 2, and I actually did a double feature of these two last time I saw it for this program, which was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I don't usually do this with anthology movies, but when I watch these two, I just like to watch them both at the same time. I don't know why. It's fun to me. I've always found Trilogy of Terror to be immensely entertaining for its datedness. And for Karen Black, who I think is just brilliant in this film, or I think she's having a lot of fun. I think that's what it is.
Oh yeah, and she turned down this movie at first.
She did.
She turned it down until they said, "Oh, we're going to cast your husband as the creep who seduces you, rapes you, and blackmails you." In the first episode, she's like, "Okay, cool, I'll do it now." I don't know that much more about Karen Black, but she sounds like an interesting person. But anyway, so we should probably say like some anthologies have gimmicks, some anthologies have wraparounds. This movie does not have a wraparound at all. But it does have a gimmick, and it's a gimmick that I don't think a lot of anthologies do, which is they take one lead actress, in this case, Karen Black, and basically have her play a different character or characters
Yeah.
uh, in each segment, which is pretty neat if you are an actress who's wanting to show your range, as she does in this movie, which I guess was what she really wanted to do. Karen Black was probably most notably famous for, if you, yeah, for those of you out there who don't know, um, she was probably most famous for getting, I don't know if she won the Oscar or if she was nominated for her supporting turn in Five Easy Pieces opposite Jack Nicholson, which is part of another trilogy that I like to call the trilogy of movies you should see to remind yourself how good an actor Jack Nicholson really is outside of the Batman movie. That trilogy includes Five Easy Pieces, Room Full of the Cuckoo's Nest, and The Last Detail. You got to see those three movies and to see how good an actor Jack Nicholson really was. But his girlfriend was played by Karen Black in Five Easy Pieces. And so that was kind of her big splash. And then after that, she kind of did a lot of different parts here and there, but probably because of this movie and not getting the roles the kind of meaty dramatic roles that she really wanted, she probably started becoming something of a horror icon, so much to the point where most modern audiences today know her as the mama of the Firefly clan in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, it's a little shame that that's what most people know her from, is from that one. But
Yeah.
She's
But
done so much stuff. She's done so much stuff. So
I know. Is she still around? Is she still around? I thought she passed away. Let me see.
I don't know.
I gotta check that out because it's gonna bug me if I don't know.
Really?
Yeah,
No, she died in 2013. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's right. Rest in peace, Karen Black. Oh boy. So we're gonna talk about you today.
Yeah.
And before we move on into the story proper, we should probably also mention the other great creative geniuses behind this. And we've already mentioned Dan Curtis, the producer of this, and probably the real artistic drive behind this thing. Mr. Dan Curtis thought that he was going to be remembered for his great Emmy-winning miniseries is The Winds of War and War and Remembrance. But no, he's going to be remembered as the Dark Shadows guy. I think they probably put that in his tombstone. But I didn't know this. He also produced Kolchak the Night Stalker, one of my favorite old TV series, and the precursor to the X-Files. And of course, Burnt Offerings, one of the great haunted house movies of all time, with Betty Davis. Is Betty Davis in that movie?
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
I think it is Betty Davis in that movie. It's put in kind of in that category of like hagsploitation kind of thing. But so he was the guy behind all that, and also, let's face it, he was a guy who never met a public domain property he didn't like and adapt. So he did Dracula with Jack Palance and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Jack Palance. I guess he had a 2-picture deal with Jack Palance or something. I don't know. But so he did a lot of that stuff, and that's what Dan Curtis is known for. So God bless him and rest in peace, because he also passed away in 2007, the ripe old age of 78.
And I do correction. It was also Karen Black in Burnt Offerings. So
she was in that too. Oh, I forgot about that. Well, good for her.
Betty Davis was in there too. She was the aunt in that. But I was like, Betty Davis wasn't the lead. I was like trying to think who was the lead in that, and it was Karen Black as well. So
right, but Betty Davis is based on the poster of that movie.
So
right. So the other great giants in this is William F. Nolan, who wrote the first 2 segments. Now, many of you don't know, William F. Nolan is the writer, one of the co-writers of, in my opinion, one of the greatest dystopian sci-fi novels and movies of all time, which is Logan's Run. He wrote that with William Clayton Johnson. And he also wrote a lot of Star Trek episodes and things like that. But the real giant, the guy who wrote all three of our stories are in their original forms, in their original short story form, and rewrote, wrote the screenplay, the teleplay, I should say, for the Zuni Doll segment, based on his own short story, is Mr. Richard Matheson.
I was wondering.
Are you wondering when I was going to get to Richard Matheson? Well, I got to save him last but not least, because this man is a genius and a giant in sci-fi and horror, one of the great writers of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And I'm not being facetious. I really do think, this is the man who wrote I Am Legend and Legend of Hell House and What Dreams May Come, and a crap ton of Twilight Zone episodes that are really, really classics.
He was just as prolific in his screenplay and teleplays as he was in actual novels, short stories. So the guy went back and forth effortlessly.
Yes.
So and a lot of what he wrote, I think, didn't he write Duel too? I think he wrote Duel.
Yeah, I think he wrote the teleplay to Duel as well.
Yeah, I mean, like when he wrote a movie for television, it usually surpassed expectations.
Yeah.
just like Duel did, this one did the same thing. It surpassed expectations,
Yeah, and I kind of wish that this, I know that I wish that this had been more successful in the ratings, because it would have been cool if they had done an anthology series of Trilogy of Terror and just did all Richard Matheson stories, because he got a bunch.
Yeah.
And he's got a bunch that would have been really great to adapt. Like maybe like each episode would have been an hour long, and they could have had like a 15-minute, trilogy story within it with a different actor or actress playing three different parts. Can you imagine how cool that would have been?
I think it would have been really cool. But
we were robbed, man.
Well, also keep in mind that even back then, I think most anthology shows were only 30 minutes. So calling it Trilogy of Terror would have been really hard to do.
It would have been, but then again, there's always The Outer Limits. That was an hour-long show, but although they did have just 1 hour-long story per thing. But yeah, I mean, the Twilight Zone, the remake of the first remake of the Twilight Zone, they had a thing where sometimes it was 2 or 3 stories per thing. I think they were 40 minutes as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember that the Forrest Whitaker one, they broke. It was really just 30-minute episodes that they aired 2 each night when they did air.
Yeah, nobody wants to remember that though.
Because all they did was remake old ones, and they didn't. They just upped up the special effects, and that's about it.
Oh, dude, no! When they remade the old or did sequels to the old episodes, that's when the Forrest Whitaker one was good. It's when they tried to do the original stuff. That's when they sucked. Oh,
well, that's why I only.
Anyways, but we won't dwell on that.
You know what? We have done a lot of diverging on this Dan Curtis, because this is the first time we're talking about anything Dan Curtis has done. I'm not going to fault us for that, but we probably should at some point get to the stories in this movie.
Yes, we shall. Like now. So what's neat about this is like they are character-driven stories, and they're all named after the women that are the leads in each thing. So the first one I think is called Julie? Yes, Julie. But she's not the first person you see. The first person you see is 2 college hunks sitting on the bench looking at the chicks walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them's like, I just got an idea. And he looks at a mousy teacher just walking by, played by Karen Black, who is Julie. And he's like, I think I want her. And the other guy's like, why? And he's like, I don't know. And he just goes after her. And that's how this begins. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to warn you. When you watch this thing, be patient with it. Because this thing does absolutely nothing to build your anticipation, your suspense, your anything. It barely even has a title card. It just kind of starts.
Yeah.
And there are huge chunks of this that just you're like, okay, when's the horror gonna start? When's the scariness gonna start? What the heck? It feels almost more like a drama. In fact, I would say that this first one especially feels more like kind of an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah, I will agree with that. It does.
Yeah, because like so, but I will say that this first episode, which after I first watched it was like my least favorite of the three, but now I feel like it's probably the second strongest of the three.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'll get into it as why I think that when we get into it. So I'm just gonna tell you what, ladies and gentlemen out there right now, your mileage may vary when it comes to these first two segments, but mark my words, we all agree the third one is the banger. But
Yeah. Yeah.
let's get into the first one. So Julie, which is based on Richard Matheson's short story called The Likeness of Julie, which first appeared in his anthology called Alone by Night back in the late 60s. So this guy is
Chad.
he what's his name?
Chad.
Chad. He's a Chad. I think he might be the first Chad. I think this guy is the first Chad to give Chad a bad name. I think this is it. I don't think Chad was a very popular name until this happened. I think. Do you think? I don't know. I think that'd be a good question out there. Y'all in YouTube land in the comments, sound off. How popular was Chad back in the 70s? Are you a Chad? Do you hate this movie because of that? Sound off in the comments. So anyway, Chad, who's probably like a 20-something college horn dog, is looking at Mrs. Eldridge, and he's like, I wonder what she looks like under all those clothes.
Yeah.
And then he has this disturbing fantasy sequence about him finding her asleep or dead, question mark, in her bed and with her bra exposed, and he goes for the smooch like a creeper. And this motivates him to like ask her, they really aggressively ask her out on a date, which she is very much like, we shouldn't do this, this is inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. But they go anyway.
Yeah.
And like, oh gosh, and he
they go to
and just well, no, before that,
okay.
Don't forget, before that, he follows her home to her house and looks at her undressing in the window. You don't see her, you just see her back, and you see his reaction to her body, and you're like, what? This guy? He's no bueno. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how no bueno he really is. So they go to the movies later on, and I love that it's a French vampire movie. I like to believe it's one of Jean Rollins' vampire movies, but I don't think so. I almost thought it was Dan Curtis's Dracula with Jack Palance, but it's not. I've been trying to find out what movie they were watching, and I could not find out what it was. But anyway, she gets out, and he goes to get her a drink, and he roofies her, which I was like, oh my goodness, this story just got way interesting and way relevant to today's audiences. This was way, way before the Me Too movement ever tackled this subject.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't see a whole bunch of roofie people in the movies back then, and I think Curtis loved to add these type of contemporary ideals in his films. So.
Oh yes. I also love that when he drugs her and she passes out and takes her to a hotel to, oh gosh. Anyway, he the fake name, he checks them under as Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan Harker. Because it's a vampire movie. Yeah. And that made me think, oh, she's a vampire. That would be cool. But no. But anyway, yeah, he takes her to the hotel room and enacts his fantasy on her.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, again, very upsetting. You don't see anything, but I feel like the fade, the well-timed fade out kind of makes it even worse
This is
because
audiences, so yeah.
yeah. Oh, what'd you say?
This is for TV audiences, so yeah.
It is for TV audiences, but because it's for TV, it makes your imagination much, much worse,
Oh yeah.
because you don't see anything. Um, Having said that, though, the whole that initial fantasy sequence where you see her bra, I felt like that must have been risque for 75 on ABC at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, dang. So I know I said that this is like prophetic of the Me Too era at the time and everything, and Chad totally couldn't get away with this nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny because like he uses photos of said incident to blackmail her
Yep.
and to into seeing him again and again and doing lots of stuff with her off screen. We aren't even told. We do have a roommate. Like Jennifer Julie has a roommate who's just there and kind of is concerned for her and tries to intervene somehow, but never really does.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think. What's funny though is I don't think that Chad could get away with this nowadays because he uses the photos by basically saying, the photos are proof that you did this, and I'll just deny that I drugged you. Nobody will believe you. Of course, nowadays everybody would believe her.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he's a total creep and a monster, and he doesn't. And so it seems like this just goes on for like a month. And at first, I was like, okay, I was into this, thinking like, oh, okay, this is saying that it seems like William F. Nolan is saying that it doesn't matter what you do, the monsters will find you.
Mm.
Because if you look at her, she did absolutely nothing to attract this guy. I mean, all she did was exist.
Yep.
All she did was, at least seemingly, all she did, I mean, she's buttoned up, conservative looking, glasses, did everything seemingly to deter him from pursuing this relationship, and then it happens. And I thought, okay, that's a powerful kind of thing. That's a truth. I know that for a fact that happens. That people who are victims of this kind of thing, don't really do anything to um not that anybody ever asks for it, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter where you go, what you do, like you're there, and that's reason enough for them to victimize you. But that's not exactly what this is about,
Well,
because
that's
there's
where
a
it starts.
twist.
Yeah, it starts like that, and you think that it's gonna have something like that, but it's got a nice twist. So
There's a twist, and I'm not sure, and this is the only problem I have with this. I'm not sure I buy it, and here's why.
okay.
Um, so so the twist is that he is hanging out with her, and she's got her hair down finally, so something's different. And she turns off the record playing his favorite song. He's like, "Hey, why'd you turn that off?" She's like, "Oh no, we're gonna do what I want to do from now on." And he's like, "Excuse me?" And he's sitting there drinking, sipping some cognac or something, or maybe some Jello pudding. Uh, I like to imagine Jello pudding. But anyway, so he starts getting woozy, and she's like, actually, this whole thing was my idea. And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh yes, I let you do this to me, but you're not as creative as this other guy I knew back in Denver. But I'm getting bored with you now." And he's like, "Wait, what? What?" And as the audience, we're like, "Wait, what?"
Uh-huh.
And then he starts to feel woozy, and then he's like, "You drugged me," and she's like, "Oh no, I'm killing you." Uh, and she takes him through the symptoms, and he dies.
Dies on cardiac arrest.
So it turns out she is basically a serial killer, and she just does this with seemingly random, because at first I thought, oh, she picks jerks and does this to that. It's kind of, is she like Dexter basically, or is this like promising young woman kind of thing? But later on, you see, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say I saw it closer to a promising young woman or a fucking siren of some type. With no, she, no
Yeah,
matter how she looks, she just picks a target, and then that target just is just attracted to her. It doesn't matter what she does. She can look mousy or whatever, but they just can't help themselves.
yeah. There's almost a suggestion of something almost supernatural because he, in the beginning, when he first sees her, he's like, I don't know, this idea just popped into my head. So then she said it was my idea. So it almost led me to think maybe there's something witchy going on here. Like maybe she somehow supernaturally put it into his head, but they never follow through on that.
Mhm.
But she just basically takes his photographs and incinerates his whole house, saying, "Oh, I know, I always told you to be careful of those chemicals." Which, by the way, she never actually told him that, but okay, fine. Um, and burns his house down, makes it look like an accident. And then she looks at her scrapbook, which is filled with the news articles of all these different mysterious deaths that she keeps as a scrapbook or for evidence for when the cops finally catch her. But yeah, that's how it ends. It's like a old Alfred Hitchcock Presents thing, and uh, yeah, it's a nice twist, but I feel like it doesn't really work for me because there's nothing beforehand to set it up. There's no indication whatsoever. If you were to watch it again,
Yeah,
there'd be nothing to suggest that this is what's really going on.
yeah,
And that bothers me.
yeah. I think they just need a couple more elements in there to set it up so that when they do the twist, it doesn't seem so far from left field.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with it. It just it feels cheap. Um, but it's so unexpected that it jolts you, and you feel like, oh, that's cool. But then if you think about it at all, you're like, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, it's plausible, but I didn't see anything to like make me anticipate that at all. I don't know. It felt a little cheap, and like I said, it felt like not a really good episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I mean, this is Trilogy of Terror. Where's the terror? I
Yeah,
don't get very much terror in this one, but I do
this
think it was yeah, but I do think it was well acted. Karen Black does do the twist and the personality very well. I feel like this is the most subtle of all the characters that she does. What?
most definitely, it definitely is the most subtle of all of them. And I think that was part of the plan to get people into the anthology film to begin with. They I kind of think that because it was made for TV, they didn't want to like jolt the audience right off the bat. And like you said, because there's no bookends on this and no what do we call them? The bookends.
No wraparound.
Wraparounds, you just go straight to the stories. Starting off with something that's a little bit more subtle is probably their best way to get people into it.
Yeah, it might have been cool to have a wraparound where Karen Black plays like a witch or something. She's like introducing the stories.
Which,
That would be cool. I don't think that's been done either. I don't think anyone's ever done an anthology where like an actor is the host of the anthology and also stars in all three of them as different characters.
it,
I don't
well,
think that's Yeah, I don't think it's been done.
first Karloff did it for Black Sabbath.
Oh, frack, you're right. That's right. Damn it, bro. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, Lord.
Yeah, but you see
You're
how old
right.
that movie is, and that's an Italian movie to boot. So
You're right. Dang it. And I did that on this very podcast. Why did I not remember that Black freaking Sabbath? Oh, you're right. Dang it. Now I feel like an idiot.
nah, you
Dang, Kevin, I made a fool of myself. I had all my notes, I had all my research, I had all my ducks in a freaking row. I sounded great, and now I sound like a freaking idiot. But it's not your fault. I won't fault you for that. It's all on me. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You deserve better. All
no.
right? I will do better. I promise you, folks.
Oh Jesus! Oh, don't beat yourself up too much. It's not a trope that's used very often at all. At all. I think it would be cooler if more people did use that. Um,
Yes.
Black
I
Sabbath
mean,
is the only one I could think of, to be honest with you.
yeah, I mean, honestly, what better way to attract a big movie star by saying, hey, you get to do this movie where you play all these different parts, you get to show off your range, and if you play the host, you get to have fun playing to an audience. Even if it's just the camera, you get to have fun with it. You know, well, I will say though, like, I keep hearing the conventional wisdom is always like, people don't make anthologies because the studios say they don't make money, and yet every time I look around, I go on Facebook, there's a new low budget anthology series or anthology movie that just came out. So somebody's making these freaking movies and getting them released.
Anthology films are not huge theatrical money makers. I can't even remember the last one that went theatrical, to be honest with you. And I don't include Pulp Fiction as one of them.
No, yeah, I don't include it
Because
either.
it
I
wasn't
think,
sold as an anthology, and only after people watched it did they think about it being an anthology.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's a good question. I think Tales from the Hood is probably the first one jumping up to my head.
That's the last one I'm thinking, and that was the original one. Like Tales from the Crypt didn't even do an anthology movie; they just did.
No, he didn't. Yeah, no, no. And Tales from the Hood was like '98, I think.
I
So wow, you gotta go back to the '90s.
so Tales from the Hood was probably the last one I could think of, but they're not done very often, and that had a gimmick, you know.
Oh yeah, that had a wraparound and a good gimmick. Yeah, dang, yeah.
It's hard. And I you know what? I can't remember if the first three did go theatrical, did have a theatrical release, but they were really small theatrical releases.
Yeah, the VHS ones are the only ones.
And I do not know if ABCs of Death had a theatrical release or not. And if it did, it would have been really small.
Yeah, I don't think that one got released theatrically, but yeah, you're right. The VHS is the only one, but I
Yeah,
don't think people think of those as anthologies. I think they think of them as found footage movies.
yeah. Those are anthologies, and or Theater Bazaar was another one. I don't know if that one had a theatrical release at
Oh
all.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, no, I don't think it did either.
Is that the one? The thing is, we love as horror fans, we love anthology films. And I do think the last one that probably made money was Paris Je T'aime.
Oh, Buddy Chatham, I love that.
The other one, New York, I think it's called New York, I Love You. That
You're
did
right.
not make
Yep.
any money.
Yeah. No.
I never saw that one, but I saw Paris Je T'aime at the theater. So, you know, it's just a hard genre. And with this film, Trilogy of Terror, made for TV, it's also hard, especially in '75, because you're trying to entice an audience that is not used to watching these short subjects as a theater.
Yeah. No, they're not. But at the same time, though, this is the '70s.
Yeah,
This is '75. This is TV. And at the time, man, and this is probably why this was the heyday of the made-for-TV movie of the week. Man,
everybody was doing it. Everybody, yeah.
everybody was doing it. You're right. Everybody was doing it, but not just that. But I mean, if the network put it out, dadgummit, you had 4 channels. These were your options.
Yeah.
The Trilogy of Terror was on 8 o'clock at night, and you didn't have homework to do. You didn't have, a date night with your. Well, this was Tuesday night. Nobody's going out on a Tuesday night. But anyway, yeah, like this was it. It was either this or watch the ball game. If you weren't into sports, you were probably watching Trilogy of Terror. Because Saturday morning cartoons weren't on at Tuesday night, 8 o'clock at night. So this was it. People didn't have as many options as they do now. So that's probably part of it too.
Yeah, because I don't think that the heyday of VHS was hitting people at 75 like it was in the 80s. So
yeah, no, VHS didn't really kick off, I think, until like 82,
yeah.
81.
So you're right. People were really just watching whatever they saw on TV. And the thing is, these movies didn't have a very long replay value. They usually played once, maybe twice, and then were kind of disappeared. But Trilogy of Terror never fully disappeared.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about it today. So, second story.
Yes. So, yes, second story, which is Millicent and Teresa.
That's how you pronounce it. I was so lost at first. I'm very bad with names, So when I saw that, I thought it was Theresy. I was really bad. You know what I thought? I thought, okay, that can't be it. This has to be some weird spelling of Teresa. Because I've seen so many different versions of Teresa over the years. This is just one of them. But it turns out, no, it's not that at all. It's Teresi. So if anybody out there, sound off in the comments if you're on YouTube. Do you know anybody who is called Teresi these days?
Well, there's
Like
no.
literally. Are you a Teresi? Sound off in the comments. Tell us.
I don't know if
Is
there's
anybody?
either Millicent anymore either. So this is, I guess, popular in the 70s.
Oh,
There's
for sure. For sure. But you know what? Millicent, I think, is still alive in the pet form. There's a lot of Millies walking around out there.
there
Oh,
are
yeah? Especially because of Millie Bobby Brown. But I don't think Bobby Brown's full name is Millicent. I think she's just Millie, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but Millie can mean so many different things, and I feel like Millicent is one of them. Um, uh, what's funny too is like when I was in my 20s, there was this really beautiful girl in my church and in St. Pete, and I kind of had a crush on her. Her name was Millie. Then I found out her full name was really Million Dollar Baby. Baby was not her last name, but her first name was Million, so they called her Millie for short. That literally was her name, though, and she did not. And I think she begrudged Clint Eastwood for making that movie.
uh, uh,
But Million, if you're out there listening, hi. I hope you're having a great life. But yeah. So anyway, Millicent and Teresi, and this is where Karen Black really gets to show her stuff because
yes.
she plays two sisters, identical twin sisters.
Yeah, before it was popular for actors to play multiple roles like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, yes. This is like 8 years, 10 years almost before Jeremy Irons did that in Dead Ringers.
Dead Ringers. Oh, great movie.
Oh, yeah. So this is based on Needle in the Heart, which appeared in something called Queen's Mystery Magazine in 1969.
Interesting.
So, yes. So this is a 60s era thing. So bear that in mind when we start talking about some medical stuff, okay? This is written in the 60s. So in this one, which already starts off better than the first one, because, and I will say, I still think this is the weakest of the three, but it's got a banger beginning. I like the way it starts because this segment starts with Karen Black playing Millicent, the buttoned up, really high strung of the twins, and she's watching old black and white footage of her and her dad playing. And then later on, she is just manically writing in her journal, and we're hearing her thoughts. And she's saying that there's some kind of inner darkness that's plaguing them, and it's incarnated in her sister, Teresi, who she blames for the death of her father. And what's cool about this is that it puts you right inside her head, and it sets the mood.
Yeah.
There's almost something kind of Poe-ish about it, which I love.
Yeah, and this is the only segment that does that too.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's the only one that does any kind of narration. So when I was like about this, like it has this tone and moodiness to it that the others just don't. And it's like she's writing it. I don't know if she's writing a diary though. Is it a confessional letter? Is it a suicide note? We don't know. Like, because this segment kind of cuts back and forth in time a little bit. So she says things like the father's body wasn't even cold, and she's going out cavorting and all of that. Anyway, Millicent calls this guy who may be, we don't know who he is. He could be a detective, Mr. Anmar, who looks very 70s and Euro trashy with his kind of bowl cut blonde hair, but it works for him, sort of. Anyway, she's telling him that her sister is evil and really works into it. Like, she's like, her sister studies black magic and Satanism. Look at the books on her shelf. There's all these necromancy books and things like that. And then she just drops this bomb. She says that when she was 16, her sister, Teresi, seduced her father.
Already risque subject matter again, so.
Holy shnikes, yes. So this segment wastes no time going straight into WTF gross out territory. We're going straight into Electra Complex territory. Yeah.
Electric complex.
Electra Complex, as the opposite of the Oedipal Complex. Holy shnikes. But no. She says that she's talking about the crazy books, the voodoo book. That's important. She's got a voodoo book up there, but she's not just evil; she is freaking evil. Mm-hmm. Now, all this time, though, we're thinking, well, is Millicent really a reliable narrator? Probably not. But she's all we got to work with at this point. We haven't even seen Teresi at this point.
No.
And so she's talking to this guy, and then bam, it turns out this guy, Mr. Anwar, is Teresi's boyfriend. And somehow she convinces him to break up with her. And Teresi doesn't like that. They have a fight through her door, which is interesting. And that is noteworthy. That you do not see them together, split screen style. And because of that, I saw the twist coming a mile away. That was my big problem with this one. I saw it coming a mile away. It did nothing when it dropped. When we see Teresi, though, and there's no Millicent to be seen, she comes in and she answers the door for the psychiatrist, whose name I cannot even remember, but he looks like the old, what was his name?
Ramsey, Dr. Ramsey.
Dr. Ramsey. Dr. Ramsey, who looks to me like Commandant Lassard in the Police Academy movies. He looks just like...
I was thinking you were going to say Commandant Lassard.
He looks just like that guy, I swear. I don't think they're the same actor, but my goodness, he looked exactly the same. So Commandant Lassard from the Police Academy movies is talking with Karen Black, who's playing Teresi in full floozy mode. Karen Black was very good at playing floozies. In this later part of her career, she's got a big blonde hair that, I'm sorry, it's very obviously a wig. And she's got a red mini skirt, a simple white top, some nice 6-inch platform heels. And you're thinking, I mean, she looks so floozy, but she can't possibly be like satanically evil. There's nothing about her. I mean, goth chicks really weren't the thing back then, but yeah. I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure what to think, even then. Anyway, somehow she scares off the psychiatrist, who just buggers off. And
I do want to add that you were correct, that is Commandant Lassard, by the way.
Holy crap, it is! I knew it! I knew it!
I knew that. I knew you did. Yeah, I had to re-look that up. I was like, oh, because at first it was funny, and then I realized, wait, that is the same person.
It is the same guy. I knew it. I knew it. I wasn't going crazy. Thank you, Kevin. I knew it.
But go ahead with your story.
So then we get to the point where Millicent's like, I've had enough. I can't let her keep doing this evil, which is funny because okay, she hasn't done anything more evil than possibly kill her own father, and apparently break some little girl's dolly off screen, which isn't evil, but a-hole-ish for sure. But anyway, this little girl with this doll gives Millicent an idea. She's like, it's ironic that I use her own magic against her. So she takes out the voodoo book, makes a little doll out of Teresi's quote unquote hair from the wig and a couple other personal things, puts it in the doll. And in case you haven't guessed it by now, folks, the voodoo doll gets a needle in the heart. And in case you haven't figured it out, the psychiatrist comes in breaks into this locked house to find a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Teresa's corpse. See, I can't pronounce it. Teresa's corpse, which they pull her out on a stretcher. And if you haven't figured it out, folks, he pulls off the wig. And yes, we've got a Fight Club situation here, folks, because Teresa and Millicent are, in fact, the same person.
Yeah, I saw that coming too when I originally saw the film, but I didn't mind as much because my mentality for these anthology films, they're like TV movies. I'm a lot more I was always a lot more forgiving for that type of stuff. So
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like this makes Commandant Lassad the worst psychiatrist in the history of medicine. He probably would be immediately lose his medical license right after this because he looks at the dead body and says, the most advanced case of split personality I've ever seen, which I mean, and psychologically speaking, it makes sense. Medically speaking, it actually kind of makes sense because what they used to call split personality, they now call dissociative identity disorder, which is to say that most of those personalities are created because a traumatic event happened in their childhood that causes to develop another personality that person, the trauma happened to that person, not me. So once you see that twist, you look back and think, okay, I see how this happened. When Millicent and Teresa were one person, there's no way to know which one was the original. I'm willing to bet Millicent was probably the original dominant personality. But anyway, so she seduced her dad and was so ashamed of that act that she split her personality into two sisters and made Teresa the one who did the horrible act and therefore like blamed her for everything bad.
yeah,
And that's how that happened. So that part makes sense. What doesn't make any sense is to why a psychiatrist who is treating them would allow somebody with that much advanced split personality disorder, supposedly, live alone in their own house instead of in a mental institution or under the care of somebody else to prevent something like this from happening.
I always kind of wonder if that's something that happened back in that era, the 70s, and because she was functioning and she was probably paying her own bills and everything, and that's why it was like that. I don't know because or it's just part of a story element with the whole thing. It is an interesting question because I had that question myself because she doesn't seem to have like a caregiver or anyone there with her. So
yeah, another question I have is like, and this is probably something like, again, if you're out there, ladies and gentlemen, you are a psychiatrist and you've worked with people with dissociative identity disorder, sound it on the comments, folks, because we want to know. From what I understand in real life, most people with dissociative identity disorder, the personalities are aware of each other and aware that they share the same body. I don't think there's a single documented case of multiple personality disorder where they are unaware that they share the same body. I mean, yeah, you could totally see them interacting and maybe even seeing themselves outside of each other, like in Fight Club. But I don't think, because here's the problem. Here's where it breaks down. Millicent and Teresa have very different clothing styles. At what point does Millicent stop being Millicent and become Teresa? Does it switch happen in like a second? If that's the case, then Millicent's going to wake up
with the wrong clothes
and look at herself in Teresa's clothes, get disgusted, and then change clothes. If she doesn't know that they're sharing the same body, how does she explain that to herself? You see what I mean? And vice versa.
Yeah, but you're also forgetting this is still a 70s movie.
I know, yeah, and also based on a story written in the 60s. But still, It begs the question, is there like some kind of fugue state between where they just kind of, where she like zombie like takes off her clothes and puts on the the other clothes, and then bam, like how does that work? I mean, it's very, very odd, especially like when you're considering the earlier scene where Teresa's outside the door, seemingly to Millicent's room, trying to get in the locked room, and we cut to inside, and Millicent's in that room. We think at the same time, but it's not. Through clever editing, we realize, oh no, it's not really. But if she locked herself in her room, how does she explain how she got out? It's just, ugh.
It would be something similar to how you could explain the multiple personalities in the film *Malignant*, if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that. Thanks for spoiling that movie for me, Kevin.
It's pretty.
No. Somebody spoiled it for me in the sense of it's not really. It is a multiple personality, but it's also a conjoined twin thing,
Yeah.
which is different from what this is. And from what I understand, the thing in *Malignant* actually makes more sense than this.
Oh no, none of it really makes much sense. It is still a very fun, ridiculous horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of plays up that whole mentality type of thing. I mean, you can go and I mean, there's lots of films that try to explore this. I don't know, to be honest with you. The only film I can think of that tries to look at this whole thing in a very realistic light is Sybil. The one with, I think it's Sally Field.
Yeah, Sally Field. Yeah, and also I believe there's a wait, no, I don't think he had multiple personalities. He had schizophrenia. There's a movie Cronenberg did called Spider with Ray
Yeah,
Fiennes. Yeah, I don't think he was supposed to be. I think he just has schizophrenia.
yeah.
But yeah, but both of those are very serious, realistic breakdowns of what that is like.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I think in the '70s when it was the big reveal, it was a shock to most audiences. But if you're watching it nowadays, when so many people have used that trope, it becomes like it's a cliche, and you wonder how well they handled the actual execution of the ideal. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I think if they'd done like a couple more shots, like the door shot, where it seems like they are physically in the same space together, I think I would have been a little bit more fooled. I think it would have been a little better. Um, yeah.
Kind of like Fight Club, where you don't realize it because they're talking to each other all the time.
Right. And Fight Club works because we are completely in Edward Norton's POV the entire time. We see everything from his perspective. So it makes sense that we only see um,
Tyler Durden.
Tyler Durden talk to him, or when he's talking to other people, everyone's looking at Tyler. They're never looking or interacting with Edward Norton. So yeah, that makes sense. Also, we're I think in a movie like Fight Club, we weren't expecting that kind of psychological shenanigans to go on. Whereas
Oh,
in something like this, we're kind of expecting it.
yeah, I mean that's the thing about having Karen Black in all the stories. Like, you are expecting something, and this is a horror film, whereas Fight Club was not. So it was like, oh shit, what the fuck did I just watch? Let me go back and rewatch the whole movie, type of thing. Yeah, no, I get that, I get that.
So that's the first two segments of this, which, it's worth to watch them once. It's worth it to see at least what you know what actually I just realized something, and I did write this on my notes. I feel like it's worth it to watch all three if you are a young filmmaker. Like if you are out there trying to get your start and thinking about what kind of thing should I create for my short that's like my calling card thing, or something that could be expanded into a feature or something, I feel like watching Trilogy of Terror is a great education for you. Here's why. Because one thing I noticed about these two first segments, as opposed to the third segment we're going to talk about, the Zuni doll segment, they're so different from each other.
Yes.
It's like night and day in terms of how they are structured. If you look at the first two segments, there's a lot going on in both of these. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on. There's a lot of relationship stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff that happens off screen that we don't see, especially in the first segment. There's so very much that's so some of it is so complicated. And yet the format does, in those first two segments, I feel like the format doesn't really do them any favors. I feel like both of these stories could easily have been an hour long and they would have served much better. You would have seen, you would have been able to develop the characters a little better. You may have even been able to set up the twists a lot better. But the problem is like you take these first two short stories that work better on the page probably than they do on the screen, because Matheson is able to fill in those blanks in the text the way that you can't do visually. Now, yes, and so I would argue that those kinds of stories don't play very well in short form. However, this one does.
Yeah.
Amelia, aka the Zuni doll sequence, based on the short story Prey, which first appeared in the April 1969 issue of Playboy, and I'm sure it was the centerfold. This is the one that Matheson adapted himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell. And this is the only one of the stories that perfectly fits the short form format. There's only one character. It's all the Karen Black show. You got two other characters off screen, but they are off screen, and she only interacts with them through the phone. Oh. And yes, of course, there is another character, but he doesn't have no dialogue. But that's it, and it's one location. One, like all these other two stories we mentioned, multiple locations. You got the college in the first segment. You got the drive-in theater. You've got her house. You've got his house. You've got the quad. The mansion, it pretty much dominates in the second one. But that mansion, I mean, there's also the doctor's office, and there's so many other things going on. But this one is so minimal, so pared down, so primal, so very simple that it just gets inside your brain and it thrives in the short form format.
Yeah.
So this, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be an up and coming filmmaker, this is the sort of thing that you should do when you're trying to figure out what kind of story should I tell in a short form. And really, even compared to what you're supposed to do these days, I heard it said somewhere like 7 to 10 minutes at the most is what you should be aiming for today. This is even longer than that. This is like 23 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I think this story is the sort of thing y'all should be doing out there.
Yeah, I do believe that unfortunately, I think it works really well in the time frame allowed for this movie. I do have seen short versions of something very similar that don't work nearly as well because we just don't care about the actors and the characters. I think because we saw Karen Black, and the character is not as memorable as Karen Black is because she's in the first two segments. So there's very minimal in this one. I mean, Karen Black's talking to her mother, or Amelia's talking to her mother on the phone for a good chunk of this. I think it's her mother, right?
Yeah, it's her mother.
Yeah, it's her mother. Yeah. And of course, she's got this gift for her boyfriend, and the Zuni doll that she just came across. It all seems very innocent because it's like something that her boyfriend would love. She doesn't know much about anything of it. She's very innocent in this film, more so.
Oh yeah, because her boyfriend's like an anthropology professor. That's why she gets this Zuni fetish doll.
Yeah. Unlike the first two films where her character is not innocent at all. in any regards. This one, she is very innocent, and therefore, when what happens to her, we kind of, as the audience member, said, "God damn."
Yeah, this is the only normal person, quote unquote, she plays in the entire trilogy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings up what you were saying earlier when this film allows her so much range and so many possibilities because there's three fucking films she can play. She's playing in three short films that provides her with three different characters, four different characters really, to play off of. Um, but
Yeah.
this is visceral. This is like it starts, and then once that Zuni doll is released, the spirit is released. It does not stop.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Can you imagine though, like seeing this without that segment? Because like apparently in Brazil in 1982, when this movie aired, there was really strict censorship laws back then, and they cut this sequence.
Wow. So it's just like a
So Trilogy of Terror became called Two Stories of Terror in Portuguese.
that's funny.
So if you're from Brazil out there, ladies and gentlemen, you probably and you grew up at that time. I'm sorry that you were shown a subpar version of this movie, and you were denied the joys of little Zuni fetish doll going running around chasing Karen Black with a knife.
Yes. I mean, besides the fact that you have to get past the fact that she bought this ugly ass doll for her boyfriend, that is like, wow, this is what I'm getting him for his a gift for my boyfriend is this ugly ass fetish doll. It's really a menacing, scary looking fucking doll too. It's
Oh yeah, he's so ugly, he's cute.
yeah.
He's
Uh,
got and what's funny is like in the high in the really good format sorry in the superior um picture quality that the streaming allows us today, you can see all the little details on his face. He's got little like rope button eyes. It's just so well made, this little prop. It's so good. I want one. The only problem I would have, though, if I ever did get a Zuni fetish doll, is that his head is so huge compared to his body that he would be top heavy, and I keep afraid he'd be falling over and break. Uh, he's got a giant looking little head with little black dread looking things coming from his head, which is funny because he is not an African fetish doll. He is a Zuni fetish doll. The Zuni are Pueblo people from Central America. So this is actually a Native American mythology that we're dealing with here. Um, but I think we need to back up a little bit here and say that um, the catalyst for this thing unleashed, which it even says in the little instructions she gets with it that it is a fetish doll that has the spirit of a hunter inside it, and that the spirit is released when you take the little gold chain off of its very thin waist. This chain is barely on there, which you would think it should be more secure if it's that dangerous, but okay. But anyway, it's a thing there, but she wants to get it for her boyfriend, and it's Friday night. And Friday night, we are told by their conversation with her mother, is usually the night when she goes out with her mother, who she has moved away from to this nice little penthouse apartment on the fifth or sixth floor or something.
yeah.
Apparently just to be nearer to her boyfriend. And it's really her mommy issues that unleash this thing. Because if you notice when she puts the doll on the desk and she's just hung up with her mother who's mad about her, mad that the fact that she's canceling her hangout night with mom so she can be with her boyfriend. And she doesn't like that. The guilt and shame, like she says, Mom, that's when the thing comes off the waist.
And it just falls off, falls
It
down.
just falls off. But it doesn't fall. It could have fallen off at any time before, but it fell off when she said mom.
Mhm.
So that's not an accident. And that's when the camera kind of cross-fades and Karen Black goes to take a nice little bath. And when she comes back from the bath, oh, where'd the doll go? Oh, you little you little scamp. She does talk to herself quite a bit in this, which,
Yes.
to me kind of skirts the, might, to some of you out there might skirt plausibility, but that's just, it's just a thing. You gotta accept it. It's not the craziest thing you're going to see in this. Trust me.
No, I mean when you have only a one actor in the whole film and she's not on the phone, having her say stuff out loud is not, not against the norm, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, in horror, oftentimes the main characters get themselves in trouble because they've transgressed some sin.
Yes.
And in this case, it's like, if only she hadn't freaking bought that doll, or if only she hadn't canceled with her mother, or if only she'd been honest with her mother, or if only she wasn't freaking alone. Like, if she wasn't alone in this stupid freaking apartment, you know,
Yeah.
none of this crap would have happened.
Yeah, but for everyone, once that little charm falls off of the Zuni doll, the spirit comes alive, and it's on a relentless, relentless killing spree.
Oh yes, this doll is an
Oh,
icon. It
yeah.
has be it has become an icon. Actually, I sent you, Kevin. I don't know if you got it, but I sent you this
Yes, I saw
meme.
it.
You saw the meme? There is this meme going around where somebody gives Santa a Zuni fetish doll. Like, this is what I want for Christmas, and it's the one from Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, I was bawling when I was like, oh, you must have been thinking about the show when you sent that. So
Yep, yep, yep. I was. But it's funny too because it's like she doesn't. There's suspense that leads up to it though, and that's part of what makes it work. Like,
mhm.
we see the thing, we see the necklace fall, the thing fall off, but it doesn't move immediately, and then it's gone. Where is it? Where could it be? She's looking under the couch. Oh, what's this? Oh, I guess I found the end of your spear, and pricks her little finger, and then she finds the spear just flying around. Oh, what's going on here? Huh. And then all of a sudden, comes right out of the corner with a knife in his hand because she's got a knife set in the kitchen and one of them's missing. Of course, it's got a little knife. It doesn't want to attack her with his spear. Nope, it goes straight for the freaking knife and just starts stabbing at her and stabbing at her. And she runs from it and tries to block the door. And I mean, my goodness, the rest of this podcast is just going to be me saying I love, because there'd be it's just a list of things I love, because this, from here on, it's sheer Sam Raimi lunacy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, that's a great way of describing Sam Raimi lunacy. Because this relentless doll that just makes that noise, that sound, doesn't talk, just makes that sound when he's chasing. Yeah, just chasing its prey is both scary and funny at the same time, in my
It's
opinion.
hilarious.
And so, but yeah, it's hilarious that that's all the doll says, but it's scary because it's relentless to try and kill this girl.
And also, like, and I will say, like, this is the only one of the segments that I've actually read the original short story, Prey. And this is a very, very good adaptation of his own short story. The only difference between the two is that in the story, the Zuni doll's a bit more of a threat to Amelia, because in the story, the Zuni doll's portrayed as being super strong, like,
Uh,
for its size. Like, it can break down the door with its own strength. I think it's able. I mean, in this segment, it does somehow climb up and turn the knob itself, but it's much stronger in the short story, because Matheson was realizing, wait a minute, how are we going to possibly make this? How can I possibly make people scared of this? Well, if the little thing is really strong,
yeah,
that could probably work.
there's always gonna be something when it comes with these little dolls, and we've talked about this whole ideal with like Chucky, where people just say, "Oh, just kick the little doll." Well, this little dog does get kicked and covered, and all kinds of other stuff done to this doll through this movie, and this doll never stops getting after her. Never.
Yeah, yeah. There's two things that you have to do if you're gonna have a killer doll. You either have to make it super strong, or super smart. So I guess three: super strong, super clever, or you have to make it indestructible. And and Chucky is pretty much indestructible, except for a couple different ways that you could kill him. Of course, Talkie Tina from the Twilight Zone, again, indestructible. And this guy, he's pretty indestructible except for one way. And that's part of the joy of seeing this. I love how, like, she tries to kill this thing in so many different ways. I love the first thing she tries to do is drown it. Like, she thinks this thing can breathe, so she tries to drown it in her bath.
Yes. Oh my, yeah. Well, the lot for us modern audiences, the logic does not seem sound, but for her, it's like, oh God, she doesn't know all the rules yet.
No, she doesn't. Like, and because it's Karen Black,
Yes.
like, if it's a lesser actress, this movie doesn't work.
You know
But
what?
because she's an Academy Award winner and is able to sell the reality of this, even when it's freaking ridiculous, and she's making really dumb choices sometimes, when she tries to call the police. And yes, I get that she can't tell the police that there's a freaking wooden doll trying to kill me, because they'll never come to your house if you say that. But you could say something else, and she says, "I don't know where I am." Like, like, literally, lady, you don't know the address to the apartment you're in? Okay, fine. But she sells it, and she does a great job of selling it. I'll also say another thing that's interesting about this doll is that if you haven't seen this movie, folks, you might be asking, how are they pulling this special effect off? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a puppet. There's no stop motion. They never even do stop motion animation. It's not a marionette. It's just like a little, I guess you it's just like freaking a guy. It's like a guy with a rod, and it's just like moving outside of camera, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how and I love how she traps it in that beautiful green colored suitcase, and then like it tries to stall its way out of the little hole with with the knife. Like a little this is the segment where it starts to become like a Looney Tunes cartoon from hell.
I was about to say that it really does feel like Evil Dead 2 at this point, with the way that she is reacting with this Zuni doll, just like Ash and his own hand, severed hand is.
Yes, the possessed hand. Yes, it's very much like that. She tries to grab the little knife with her fingers, and she like an idiot, and she gets stabbed with it. And then finally, his little head pokes out, and somehow he drops the knife. And she picks up the knife, and she starts stabbing his little wooden head with it repeatedly, thinking that's gonna get him. And it looks like he does. And then he comes out again and bites her on the neck.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
it's
very
nuts.
yeah, it's a very nuts film, but the thing is, it really works well in this one. We're not like it works, it's funny, but it still functions really well as a horror film.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't get funny to the point where it becomes a parody of itself and you're not scared anymore.
No, no. And also, I think part of another reason why that works also is that this thing is lethal. I mean, it messes her up. She is very, very bloody by the end. She's as bloody as network TV will allow. Like in the original short story, he that thing cuts her up real good
Oh,
in
really?
in the original. Oh yeah. And I think it even almost like hamstrings her with with the knife. It's really, really intense in the short story. But yeah, and then finally he just bites her neck, and she throws it in the oven and burns it alive. But she'd already used that oven to make a TV dinner, which has which is now burnt to a crisp. And I love how, like, she throws it in there and it slowly dies. You hear his little death throngs. It's like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then there's the twist. And I have to say, this is the one where the twist really does work. And this is part of the reason I think that this particular segment has endured for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why this twist works is because while there's nothing to set it up,
No.
when it happens, it makes sense in the reality of the world that they've created. It makes sense because of the nature of the creature.
Yeah, I'm about to say the nature of the doll because it works so well. But it's one of the coolest sequences in the movie, especially with Karen Black and the big reveal of what has happened to her.
Yeah, because she roasts this thing alive,
Yes.
um, in a way that I feel like presages the gremlin getting in the microwave oven, which I love. And but like all this black smoke just comes out of the oven, and she thinks it's dead, and it is kind of.
Mm.
And she opens the oven, and I'm fully expecting it just go and just come after her, but
Mhm.
nope, something else comes out. And again, this is kind of, I guess, again, a precursor to Evil Dead, where there's this like force that kind of knocks her down and she screams. And the next time we see Karen Black, she is up and about and calls her mom and says, "Hey, mom, I'm sorry we fought earlier. I think I would like to meet with you." "Oh, no, everything's fine." And she hangs up the phone, and in that one last great iconic shot, she's got a giant knife and just plays with it on the ground and crouches and looks directly down the barrel of the camera with big, giant, sharp teeth, just like the Zuni doll. And we
Yes,
realize that she is possessed by the spirits that was in the Zuni doll.
but yeah, that whole thing is so amazingly done with Karen Black and that reveal after talking with her mother again, inviting her over, and her just crouching down with a knife. It just, oh my god, that image probably stayed with a lot of viewers for a long time.
Yeah, it's the very last thing that you see before credits. Well, actually, that's not true. There is a credits sequence. There is like a recap of all the players, and it says, so and so starring so and so, and then the rest played by Karen Black.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
but still that image right there, and I think one of the also reasons why this is such a fondly remembered movie is that it left you with a really strong last story with a really strong final image when you stopped watching this movie, which is not always the case with anthology movies. uh Unfortunately for the genre, many people like to say, well, there was one really great one and a couple of okay ones, or there's
Yeah.
standout ones, but this one stood out in '75, and it's still standing after
It's
all.
still standing. Yeah, and it's like it's the only one anybody remembers.
Yeah,
It's almost as if it's like this was supposed to be there, but it's so small. It can't stand on its own. You got to have something to support it. So let's make it a trilogy. Let's call it Trilogy of Terror. There you go. Like you just picture Dan Carter sitting in his office chair going, "Yeah, let's just do it that way. Yeah. Just put like maybe he randomly picked the two other stories and was like, okay, let's just do those two. Hey, we got William F. Nolan on the payroll, right? Okay, let's have him do an adaptation of those. Maybe Matheson was like, oh, we're just gonna do this one. That's gonna be the pilot to a new series. It's like, yeah, sure, that's great. Yeah, let's just do this instead, though. Like, wait, what? No, give him a check. It's fine. Okay, fine. So that's probably how it all went down.
mm, I won't disagree with that. This is like I said, this is a very interesting anthology film. I think it's one of the stronger ones from the era. Despite the weaker first two entries, it did what you should do with an anthology film for the final one, which is for any film in that matter, leave the audience with a really strong image. So when they walk out of the theater or walk off,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, either I mean, save your best for last, or save your best for first, or do both. I feel
I
like if
say
you're
let's
gonna
do
do it,
both.
yeah, if you're gonna do an anthology, I feel like your first one's got to be a banger, and your last one's got to be a banger. You can mess up in the middle, do all kinds of crazy, stupid crap in the middle, but as long as you got a great beginning and a great ending, you're golden.
Yeah,
Especially if you're doing like three. I think that four is the ideal for an anthology. I feel like if you have four stories, 20 minutes each, you get it to about 90 minutes. It's fine. It's fine because that way, if you have two good ones and two bad ones, people don't feel cheated.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, another thing that's interesting about this is that so the Zuni fetish dolls, they're real.
Yes.
They exist. The Zuni are real. The fetish dolls are usually, although they're not usually shaped like humans though. They're usually they're usually shaped like animals, and they're made of stone or shells or found objects and stuff. And
Uh,
they're usually really small, like they can fit in the palm of your hand. So when Matheson was researching this, he probably thought, you gotta make this thing bigger.
you gotta make it much more menacing too.
Yeah.
Which I'm not surprised of at all because a lot of things that are scary in real life are not so scary when you're trying to make a film about
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It,
You might see people selling these Zuni's dolls on Etsy.
there is, yeah, you can get a one-to-one one on Etsy. I saw it, but it was going for far too much for me to get it. Because I tried to get one, um, to add to my collection. Yeah.
So what's funny is the Zuni hunter would take one of these things as his prey brother, and it was supposed to be like an animal. It's supposed to be designed after the animal he was trying to hunt,
Hmm.
and it was supposed to give him good luck while he was on the hunt. And it's supposed to be imbued with the spirit of the kind of animal he's trying to hunt. So Madison got that part right. You're also supposed to, but what's funny is you're also supposed to feed the Zuni doll the blood of your prey and also cornmeal. So like there's that too. So he probably liked that part of the doll and probably thought, oh, this thing is bloodthirsty.
Well, I will say this. Yes, you can find various Zuni fetish dolls on Etsy. But you can find like replicas of the one from this film on there as well. I thought at one point I was trying to get one, but they're running between like $200 to $400, you know.
Wowzer.
Yeah. Yeah. The cheapest one is like $70, but it looks cheaper than the other ones. So, but if I mean, if you're gonna want some type of iconic collectible, horror collectible, for some reason these dolls are always popular. The Zuni fetish doll, the Chucky doll, Annabelle doll, even the freaking dolls from the Puppet Master, Full Moon are fucking popular, you know.
Oh,
Uh
I almost got a set from Target the last month.
of the Puppet Master ones.
Oh yeah, they got this. There's really cool like box set where you open it up like a Toulon suitcase, and
Yes.
it's got all I think six of them from the original first two movies.
Oh wow! I've only seen the DVD box set that opens up like that. That's kind of cool if you can see like the actual dolls in there.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I love now, and this is the question to ask because I love the doll movies. I'm a huge fan of the Puppet Master franchise. Been following that damn thing up until the most recent Blade movie, the solo Blade movie and stuff. I'll
yeah.
never stop watching those. I like watching doll movies, even though you can kick them and they get kicked in these movies. It's not like they're indestructible. It's funny when they kick the doll. It's funny in this movie when Karen Black is as Amelia is trying to thwart the doll, and yet the doll never stops coming. And you could see the influence that this movie had, this particular sequence had on stuff like Puppet Master, especially, and with the Blade character. You just never lose that. I mean, you're just like, it's not something that everyone goes back to the Zuni doll as like the precursor for these killer doll curse dolls movies. So that's what I have to say about that. Because
Oh yeah. And I mean, this thing just is relentless, like the Terminator,
yeah.
which
Oh,
of course leads me to our Schwarzenegger alternator
do
segment.
you have some for this movie? This is
I
actually
do. In fact, I have three for the trilogy of terror.
one for each story, or just one for like the Zuni fetish doll one.
I tried to do three for the Zuni fetish, but I actually did get one for each story.
Okay. So for everyone listening, our esteemed young special guest, Thomas, loves to do his Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm gonna let you say it.
You just keep stumbling over the poor man's last name,
I
and I
do.
get it. I get it. He's probably had to deal with that his entire life. If you could say Schwarzenegger, you could say anything. But anyway, so what we are doing here is like I imagine, and I'm stuck in this accent, so don't just bear with me. So like that we imagine here the kill line. From there's lots of movies where you have the killer or the hero who's going to kill the monster, and he says the quip, the last line, like smile, you son of a bitch from Jaws or something like that. But sometimes you do not have that in the movies. But I could do that. I provide that for you here in my Schwarzenegger alternator lines from Trilogy of Terror. So imagine if I am, say, Karen Black in that part, or the part of the Doctor, or perhaps somebody else. So here we go. I've got it for you. The Schwarzenegger alternators. There's 3 of them. Here we go. So the first one, we're gonna go in reverse order.
Okay, that's interesting.
The
Okay.
first one comes from the Zuni doll. So imagine I am playing Karen Black, and I put the doll in the oven, went back to the wall, smoke coming out. That's the last time I buy anything from Temu.
That was actually
Number number 2. What were you saying?
irrelevant for this day and age.
Very, very, very relevant. So number 2, imagine I'm playing the doctor instead of the guy from the Police Academy movies. I am playing the doctor, looking at the dead body of my patients who I should have put in a mental institution. But anyway, they're there. And I pull off the wig. Instead of saying, split personality, yada yada, I say, they say 2 heads are better than 1, but not when they are the same head.
That's good. That was a good one. Okay.
And then finally, number 3, when she is poisoning him, I am Karen Black, and now I need you to say, feed me the line, "You drugged me."
Okay. Tell me when. You drugged me.
No, I am killing you, Cosby style.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, so that was also very relevant for this day and age as well. So you went all off on this one. All 3 of them are pretty damn good on this one. And
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Mr. Schwarzenegger. Thank you, Kevin. Glad to be here.
oh my God. No, you've outdone yourself. I actually liked all 3 of them for this one. This one's good. I have to give you props for that one. That's good. That's good. Oh, Jesus. All right. I want to thank you, Thomas, for joining us in this conversation in horror. For everyone listening, what we love to do at the end of our conversation is we like to rate the movie between 1 and 5. Now, what we love to do is to pull something from the movie, whether it be a prop, a person, a quote, or anything that happened in the movie, and we like to rate it based on that. 1 being very poor and 5 being amazing. Where on the spectrum, Thomas, would you place the original Trilogy of Terror, and what object or thing or quote would you like to do it towards?
What object? Well, it's low hanging fruit to rate it Zuni fetish dolls. It's too easy. I'm not gonna do that because I never do anything easy, Kevin. I always make it harder for myself and in the audience. So instead, well, there's so many things I could do. I could rate it. It could be like poison cups of beer. Nah, it's too bland. Or it could be like, blonde wigs. No. No, I think what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to go with, instead of an object per se, I'm going to go with, no, it kind of is an object. I feel like the one image aside from the Zuni fetish doll itself that defines this movie is Karen Black's face in the last segment. That smiling, toothy face with those sharp, pointy dentures that are just hanging off a little bit. They're not quite fully on. If you look closely, they're kind of not quite making contact with her gums. So I feel like those teeth Those teeth define this movie. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna rate this three, 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 toothy smiling Karen Blacks out of 5.
Okay.
I mean, if I was just to rate the Zuni fetish doll segment, just that's just 10. That's 10 out of 10 tooths. Uh, but because you have those two other segments that aren't as strong, I'm just gonna have to give it a solid 3.5.
You know what? I give this a much higher rating because of the Zuni fetish doll. I'm gonna stick with it for this portion, but I'm thinking that you're probably right. If the Zuni fetish doll sequence wasn't in there, my rating would be much lower. But because that is such a strong piece, I'm giving it four. What is it? What was I say? I'm giving it four multiple personalities stuck in one brain. So that's what I'm gonna stick with on this one. Um,
You're
but
gonna give it her brain, just four multiple brains. Just a picture of a brain.
well, and the thing is, you're right. I think this is one of those rare, really rare anthology occasions where there is this one segment that just stands out so much more than the other ones.
Hmm.
It's hard to deny. It's absolutely amazing. This one segment, and it's talked about, and it's influenced so many other films, and so I have to like I think I would be doing the film a disservice if I gave it like a 3 or a 2.5, like I would if I was rating the overall film. I think I
Yeah,
would.
it's always a hard question when you're rating anthologies.
It
Like,
is.
do you
Oh,
like you have to do you consider the balance of each segment and what it all leads up to as a one, or do you just like rate it based on its strongest segment? Because if that's the case, then it's 10 out of 10. But I feel like you gotta
yeah.
you gotta factor in those two because, like I said, folks, your mileage may vary.
Mhm.
The pace, it does take a long time. It's not a long movie though. It's not even 90 minutes. It's like 73 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not
Oh,
that much of a slog to get to the Zuni fetish doll, but we're talking about people in 2025 here. Attention spans are very slow, are very, very fast, and we have fast paced lives. We will not grudge you if you just fast forward to the Zuni fetish doll segment. It's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like me in watching 2001: A Space Odyssey. I just fast forward through the ape sequence at the beginning. I don't watch that anymore.
Oh, but do you watch the segment where the apes beating the crap out of the other apes with a bone after they seize the monolith, right? You got to include that. That's part of the plot.
Nah. I already know what the plot is. I just skip that part.
Oh,
I am one of those people who enjoyed the book more so than the movie. So
I still haven't read the book. I read the 3001 Space Odyssey.
so uh
Didn't like it.
one day I liked the book. I liked the first book. I have not finished the second book yet. I just kind of put it down for no apparent reason. I just never finished it. Not that I didn't like it. I just put it down and just never finished it. Um that reminds me, one day I should get around to finishing those. So, with that, I want to thank you all for listening to us rant and rave about Trilogy of Terror. We hope that you've enjoyed our conversation, and we hope that you will check out our previous episodes in which we've done a lot of anthology films. But for 2026, we plan on doing a whole hell of a lot more, especially another month that focuses on anthology films alone. So be looking out for that. And to be looking for that, you should be a subscriber so you never miss an episode. So make sure to subscribe, follow, share on your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. Also, make sure to check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which is every first and third Friday of the month. You'll be glad you do as we delve deep into all those great old school Hammer Studio horror films. So if you're a classic horror film lover, you're going to love that podcast. And we love talking about those movies. So we hope you enjoyed our program, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a great day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.